Thievery in KCG2 revolves around lockpicking and pickpocketing. It is basically the art of acquiring objects without the consent of their owners. So obviously, stealth is an important element of thievery since it is a must that a thief remains unseen. I mean, if people see you stealing and pickpocketing, then you are just a simple bandit with no finesse. Which is why it is essential that a thief understand the concepts of noise, conspicuousness, and visibility. If you want to learn more about this, I've made a Stealth 101 video discussing these very concepts. Consider watching that before or after you watch this. So for this Stealth 101, we will be focusing on the idea of thievery in KCG2 and how to play like a thief. Please note that this is not a step-by-step guide on how to become rich via pickpocketing and lockpicking. Instead, we will discuss the key mechanics that will greatly affect a thief's ability to perfectly do their job. But before all that, I want to first introduce a concept that I believe will enhance the thief or even overall stealth gameplay for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And this is the approach of playing past your mistakes. By this, I mean you should avoid save scumming when you are caught in the act of stealing. Instead, you should live with the consequences of when you fail to successfully remain unseen. So for example, if you're caught pickpocketing or going through a private chest, don't reload the game to avoid the fine or going to jail. Instead, try to work around it. If you're in an area with a lot of cover, maybe you can run away and hide somewhere. Then maybe you can skip town until the heat has died down. Consider stealing from a town where you are not wanted. Or if you're playing as a silver-tongued thief, maybe you can try to persuade the guard to let you go this time by telling them a funny story. Whatever the path you take, just make sure you are not reloading a save game to basically fake a perfect heist. And through this, you will notice that the game's stealth, crime, and social mechanics will work in tandem with each other to give you a unique feeling that perfectly fits the Master Thief fantasy. This will also make infiltrating houses and pawning robberies much more immersive, since you will want to plan around the target's daily schedule to minimize the chance of being caught. In some cases, you might need to observe what a target's daily schedule is like before you try stealing from them. And so with that, let's proceed with the key mechanics essential for understanding thievery. First are lockpicking and pickpocketing. Basically, Henry's effectiveness in lockpicking and pickpocketing are tied to the thievery skill. So performing lockpicking will also improve pickpocketing and vice versa. Now to be honest, lockpicking in KCG2 seems a bit harder than in the first game. As such, I don't recommend trying to open hard and very hard locks until you are above level 14 in thievery. Personally, the Mischief Artist perk which you can get at Thievery level 14 can help improve your Thievery skill by 3, which can make it easier to open the harder locks. Still, despite the boost, very hard locks can be a pain to open. Because of this, I highly recommend focusing on pickpocketing more than lockpicking in terms of acquiring perks and planning your heists. Because you see, most of the time, houses have easy locks on their doors which Henry can easily get through. It is mostly the chests that are under hard and very hard locks. However, NPCs will always have keys for the chests, meaning that for every very hard lock you see, there is an NPC holding the key to that chest. So what I like to do in the early game is wait for nighttime at around 2300 hours when most NPCs are asleep. I then sneak into houses and just pickpocket the sleeping people there until I get the key. I mostly target houses owned by traders so I can infiltrate the shop after rummaging through the house and getting the chest keys. But do note that repeatedly pickpocketing someone increases the chances that they can catch you stealing even when they are asleep. So what I like to do is cycle around NPCs that are present in the room and not pickpocket the same person more than twice in a row. Also, most of the time, the keys are in the deeper parts of the pocket, so you will need to at least get around 10 seconds or more to make sure you can steal the key unnoticed. I recommend leveling up Thievery early on and getting the Nimble Fingers perk so you can get additional time faster. To level up Thievery quickly, you can just pickpocket NPCs and grab the closest item you can. You don't need to be completely hidden to pick pockets though. For example, even in broad daylight, you can get away with picking pockets if no one is nearby and looking in your direction. Now let's talk about noise from external sources. These are mostly from lockpicking, opening doors, and barking dogs. So it is important to understand that when you are picking a lock, you make noise. This noise is not affected by your noise stat and can only be suppressed by getting the Silent Fiddler perk. If you don't have Silent Fiddler, it is likely that picking a lock beside a sleeping NPC will wake them up. which is why this perk is a must if you want to go robbing at night. However, if you decide to pickpocket instead and steal the keys, you can safely open a chest without waking up nearby NPCs. Next is the noise from opening doors. So when you open doors, the door will make noise and can wake up NPCs. To be honest, the noise from doors seem to only happen when you open doors when you are standing up. I'm not 100% sure about this, but even with stealth level 6 and thievery at the same level, I'm able to open doors at night without waking up NPCs. There is the rodent perk however, which reduces door noise by 50%. But this unlocks at level 10 stealth and I honestly did not get this one. So I guess further testing is needed for door noises. Also, do note that it is important to close doors that you open. NPCs remember that they closed the doors to their houses and will immediately investigate if they notice that the door they closed is now opened. Sometimes closing a door can be the difference between getting spotted and executing a perfect heist. Lastly, let's talk about barking dogs. So when you enter a property at night and there is a guard dog, that dog will start barking when it sees you. The barking will alert the owner who will then wake up and investigate the property. To prevent this, a master thief should throw meat for the dog as some sort of peace offering. This will stop or prevent the dog from barking, allowing Henry to move around unnoticed. Alternatively, having the dog's best friend perk or drinking a strong Aesop potion will also stop dogs from barking at Henry. Alternative entry points. When doing a stealth mission or a heist for a quest, it is important to note that there's probably more than one way to enter an area. For example, in the early quest for the Miller where you have the optional objective to steal a stealth gear from the Zelejov Inn, there is a deliberate route to the second floor to the side of the bathhouse. Going through here will get you to the second floor without anyone noticing. Just make sure you do it in the late morning to afternoon so there are no sleeping NPCs on that floor. Other quests will also have this design and so it can be beneficial to explore the surrounding area a bit and look for climbable places. Next, let's talk about how NPCs react to thievery. So one of the coolest mechanics I found in KCD2 is the NPC's ability to recognize their belongings when the player wears it. So for example, if you steal a helmet from a guard and wear it, that guard will recognize his helmet when he sees you. This will of course lead to a confrontation in which you will either have to surrender yourself, pay compensation for the theft, or simply run away. Surrendering yourself means that you will pay a fine to a guard and give all stolen items back. Paying compensation for the theft is simply you negotiating with the owner so they will not call the guards on you. Then of course there is the old runaway strat where you just bolt away into the next city until things cool down. Of course, if you have high speech or charisma, there are other ways to deal with this, like persuading someone to give you the items as a gift. Additionally, I want to warn about wearing stolen items when you are playing an archery contest and something similar. In one of my escapades, I was wearing a stolen shirt from the Zelejov Inn, which also happened to be close to the Huntsman, where I competed in archery. Right after the contest, I realized that one of the contestants was from the inn and they recognized the clothes that I was wearing. So this led me to run away from the area, which made me a wanted man for a short time. Now I want to talk about the mechanic in which there will be more guards in certain areas when there is a lot of crime happening. Now I have not experienced or observed this in my playthrough, but that's probably because I don't stay in one town where I've done a lot of thieving. But the concept here is that when villagers notice that a lot of items are missing, there will be more guards positioned in the area, which should make it harder for a thief to move about. So I guess the best thing to do is to move around from one city to another when you're playing as a thief. Lastly, let's talk about where to sell your stolen goods. At the start, you will want to sell your goods to a fence. In the Troska region, you can sell stolen items to Miller Crazel or to Fence Whitebeard in the Nomad camp. In Kuttenberg, you can find Rat in the Hole-in-the-Wall Tavern west of the city. However, since merchant money is limited to mostly 400 to 600 at the start, it can be very hard to completely sell all the items you've stolen. Because of this, you will want to either wait for the stolen tag to disappear, which is dependent on the item value. The more expensive an item, the longer it will be tagged as stolen. If you try to sell an item to a trader who does not accept stolen items, it is possible for them to call the attention of the guards, which will lead you to being arrested for thievery. As such, getting perks like Hustler and Partner in Crime, which are from the speech tree, can be very helpful when you want to take the risk of selling stolen goods to honest merchants. Then there's also the Trafficker perk in the Thievery skills, which makes the disappearance of the stolen tag 1/4 faster. One last thing though, if you don't want to risk selling to honest traders, you can just wait for a day or so until the fences regenerate their money. Consider storing your stolen items on your horse or on your personal chest for the moment.